Hey, 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 hey. Good afternoon, Oliver.
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I decided to switch it up a little bit. It is nice and toasty out there. I like it like that. I'm an island girl. I like it hot. How about you?
Yeah, I'll take the heat any day over snow and cold. I'll take it. I'll take 300 degrees over snow.
I agree. No digging out, no
Hmm.
snow days, even though
Yeah,
those can be fun sometimes. I mean, it's just no slipping and sliding. It's just I a nice lemonade.
yep. That
Nice
snow and
lemonade.
cold. That's for the
Yeah.
birds.
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Woo, but we are here to talk about team dynamics,
Hmm.
team engagement.
Yep.
This is our wheelhouse. This is where we have fun. This is where we have a great time. This is where we get our clients.
Hmm.
And thanks for our conversations this week and how we can continue to share with the world what's in our hearts and what we love to do and invite them to give us a call so that we can shine in their organizations and help them to shine. And of course, I know you have your own verbiage with Denali. I'm going to give you a little bit to spit that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we are passionate about relationship building,
Yeah.
both personally and professionally. It is our goal. It's our passion. It's our calling
Yeah.
to help individuals to communicate on an extraordinary level, to recognize, manage, and recover from conflict in record time, and for our individuals and couples that are on the personal side of the relationship building spectrum to build a holistic and strong, intimate bond. And for our individuals that are on the corporate side of the relationship building spectrum, to have a cohesive team that is in alignment, that experiences a high level of synergy, and ultimately leads to great and greater production.
I love it. So this week I was speaking with someone and just answering the question of why is the team not, and I guess my term now, I'll coin it, not rolling and operating on 16 cylinders. And I think that one of the first steps
Hmm.
in whether it's professional, corporate, one-on-one, platonic, I do life coaching too, mother, child, sibling, employer one-on-one coaching for executive coaches, or even that's your wheelhouse in terms of the personal relationships like husband and wife. I think transparency and being honest and saying, hey, something's not quite right.
Yeah.
I think we need to make the time to discuss a strategy and a plan of how we can improve in this area. As I just told you, I just came back from the docs. I'm like, hey, I feel good. They're saying my iron's low, but okay, I got to work on that.
Hmm.
So how can it get better if we don't acknowledge the problem? I think that's the
Yeah.
first step. What do you think?
Well, I agree with that, and I think the reason why we have such apprehension in that area, or dysfunction, if you will, in that area, is because often we don't attempt any level of relationship building until we get in a situation that calls for us to have to resolve something, or calls for us to have to brainstorm around a conflict or some level of mismanagement or miscommunication. And
Yes.
you need some other things that are foundational that will allow you to walk through that process with less apprehension, and walk through that process with a lower degree of difficulty. And
Yeah.
so I think, what you're saying is very important. We do need to be able to speak up. We need to be able to communicate that and articulate those things. But we also need to understand about ourselves, our contribution to the team, and other people's contribution to the team from a personal and a professional standpoint. So that
Yeah.
may mean things like establishing and understanding team norms.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. And so, some of the norms that in spaces and places that I've seen,
Hmm.
I'll name I'll name three, and I guess you can name three. Number one is creating a neutral and a balanced playing field, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna always have meetings in your office. You're not gonna always have meetings in my office. How about we go to the the boardroom or a space that's neutral so that there's
Mhm.
no power struggle in us
Right.
coming up with strategy. Another norm would be to have an agenda. What are we what we talking about? Just to give a
Mhm.
heads up, that person can start thinking about it, consult their pillow the night before so that they can think about things that do some introspecting, what they want to bring and have discussed. So that there are no surprises, nobody dropping bombs, feeling, side swipes with the conversation. And I think another norm that's really good is knowing when to make a decision, when to table,
Mhm.
and make some time before a decision is made. And then lastly, I would say knowing when to just table it
Right.
table it
Right.
and come back on another
Mhm.
time, especially if emotions are rolling high.
Yeah. I agree with all of those, and those are great. I believe that the establishment of norms is so important because now you have a baseline that you can always point back to as it relates to the undertone of your team. And some of those are, you talked about some that are more procedural in nature. There are some that are actually more personal in nature. And sometimes we are afraid to mesh that. We're afraid to add that word personal in our work environment. We're afraid to add that word because we're not sure what exactly that means. Does that mean I got to be telling you all my business, or, and that's not necessarily what it means. But if you think personal in the respect of establishing an environment where understanding and empathy always can take place.
Yes, yes.
So knowing that if we're on a team, I know that when I come to the table with a pain point, that it's not going to immediately be shot down, that there's going to be some level of understanding, some level of conversation. So now if I know that, I never am apprehensive about coming to the table and being able and sharing and engaging and adding my 2 cents to the brainstorming pool, if you will, right? Because there's some level of empathy and understanding that is emphasized
Yes.
as a team norm, right? So that's one team norm. Another team norm is uh, establishing an environment where you are able to not only share, but you're able to receive and give constructive criticism.
Yes, that part.
Or let's take the word criticism out because people don't like that.
But
Let's
just receive
feedback,
feedback. We just
feedback
receive feedback.
to be able to receive feedback. Because here's the thing: if we're on a team and I'm comfortable talking to you, and you're comfortable talking to me, and I'm comfortable sharing with you, and I'm comfortable getting advice and feedback, and we're able to do that off each other, and we're using the norms that you said, we're using the neutral spaces, and we're making sure that we are always prepared with an agenda, and we have what our meeting trajectory is going to be like. You create an environment now where people feel relaxed and
Yes,
comfortable,
yes,
and their energy now doesn't have to be spent on uh man, I don't know how this is going to go, or preparing for the worst, or
there's not a meeting before the meeting, like, do you know what we talk about?
oh man,
I mean, or the meeting after meeting, like, I didn't know that was going to be,
man.
just eliminate all the extra.
And listen, so many people can resonate with that meeting after the meeting, especially
Yes, yes,
that
yes.
meeting after the meeting, right? But if there are some clear understandings around that, another one is a very clear understanding around roles and goals,
Yes.
right? And it's not to say we're going to put one person over the other, but just understanding what your strengths are,
Yes.
understanding what your team, and this is where leadership comes in, right? Leadership should have the ability to look at their team, to be able to understand what the strengths are, to understand what the growth areas are, and to be able to maximize those strengths in a way that when everybody comes to the table, you create some level of synergy that can only result in high productivity. But that has to start from the things that are established from jump. And there are ways to do that.
I was about to say one of the ways that I've used time and time again, and that I know that you have some instruments as well, but the one that I really love, and I have to say love and shout out to Shelly Smith, with Premier Rapport is the predictive index. She
Mhm.
was my coach. She taught me how to use that instrument of the PI and to know what's my avatar. I'm a promoter, right?
Mhm.
And not only for me, but whatever team I am assisting with, we can actually do a map to see what are your strengths.
Mhm.
We have a team of 10. We don't want every 10 of us to be a type A. Who's going
Right.
to get down in the details? We want to make sure that we have some love and then we can see our
Mhm.
blind spots. Please,
Mhm.
someone tell me if I have a wedgie, right, from my
Mhm.
skirt, that's not going to be attractive. We want to make sure that everyone brings strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
and that they overlap in that there's no one type of person or group thinking, but that we are cognitively looking at our team, or if there are openings on the team, if we need to fill a position, we say, okay, we have a lot of, even if you look at the disc, we have a lot of D's and I's and
Mhm.
S's. We need a C. So
Mhm.
whoever we hire, the profile for this vacancy is gonna be a C player. So
Right.
just making sure that we know, like you said, what each other is bringing and
Mhm.
and how they're contributing. I'll let you share.
No, you're spot on. That's 100% what I was going to say as well, because you have to, whether it's a personal or professional relationship, there are some things you have to identify and be cognizant of and be sure of. One is you have to identify and be able to articulate your personality style.
Yes.
You have to be able to identify and articulate your communication style. You also have to be able to identify and articulate how you like to be communicated to. And
Yes.
in a team setting, whether personal or professional, everyone has to know that.
Mhm.
Because now, if I know how you like to be communicated to, and I know your communication style,
Yes.
now when I approach you to have this conversation, because we've created team norms and we've established all of these things up front, now I'm coming to you in a way that is always going to allow you to receive what I say, is always going to set you up for success as it relates to being able to communicate back to me.
Yes.
And that's a recipe for success all the way
Yes.
around.
Yes. 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 I was thinking of another one, Oliver, and that is knowing how you are under pressure.
Oh,
It's
that's
critical. It's
critical.
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 I remember I shout out to Lady T. She came with me to Vegas. I love her dearly. And she was like, okay, let me go see what's up with Miss Tish. Whenever I start to sing,
Mhm.
nevertheless, like when I start singing, however, it's like she's like, okay, Miss Tish, what's going on? I love singing,
Hmm.
but you know, I feel so much better
Hmm.
when I utter praise and just knowing that God is with me. I can do all things through him and there's nothing I can't tackle, man.
Right.
But I know that when I'm frustrated, I either sing or
Hmm.
just take a moment to do something else.
Hmm.
Those are the two ways that
Yeah.
I when I get frustrated, I just need to take a break. But it's good
Yeah.
to know
It's good to know.
how people respond to frustrations so that like, okay, I think I'll come back at it another time because I think
Right.
she needs a moment.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's good to know. And here's the thing, you may not find that out right away. You may not find that out, obviously, until something happens that brings out that reaction. Here's where we drop the ball as it relates to a great opportunity. Often what happens is the issue arises, we see how people handle it, and then we categorize and or ostracize them based on their reaction.
Yes, Oliver.
That's not what you do. That is a teachable and learning moment
Learning,
right there.
absolutely.
And
Or
what
the
you do
person
now,
may,
go ahead, say it.
I'll let you finish your thought. I'll write it down.
I was just gonna say that's a teachable and learning moment right there, because you have an opportunity now to have a conversation. And in that conversation, you want to find out some very specific things. You want to find out why this issue garnered that reaction.
Mhm.
Have those things happened in the past?
Mhm.
What are some things that could help to mitigate that reaction if need be in the future? Because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up learning about a particular segment of their communication style
Mhm. Mhm.
and a particular segment of how they handle stress.
Mhm.
And you can use their strengths
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
to counteract whatever you feel like might be a growth area. And
Yes.
that's an opportunity for coaching, for leadership to go into coaching mode and help them to navigate that space that allows you to turn that thing around for something that actually would be a coping mechanism for them.
Yes.
And if they are able to utilize that coping mechanism consistently, now you don't have to fear for a decrease in productivity because you know what you're dealing with.
Man, I love it. This is pretty hot. This is pretty good, Oliver, if I must say so myself. I wrote down two things.
Mhm.
One, sometimes individuals shy away. Sometimes people see conflict as a negative thing, and it's not always a bad thing in terms of if somebody is frustrated, it's all in how you handle the circumstance, right? Always remaining tactful, always remaining professional. But we may be passionate and
Mhm.
still be able to articulate in a professional way. And then what also came to my mind was narcissists in the workplace,
Oh wow, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
that's a big one.
and manipulation.
Mhm. That's a big one, and we see that quite often. And I'm not going to say this eliminates it, but usually when there is a space that hasn't been filled with some very specific team norms, it allows an opening for somebody to step up to the plate and use certain things to their advantage. And once that happens, that's a very tough hole to dig out of without getting rid of the team member altogether.
Yes, 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 I would agree. And you know, that's gonna be my next article. I'm writing an article on the checklist. Are you a narcissist at work? Because
Wow.
it's easy to point out, like, hey, this person did this person did that. But
Hmm.
oftentimes, from my experience, the narcissist is not able to see themselves
Typically,
and
yes.
and the effects that they have
Hmm.
in a certain setting.
Yep. And the inability to, and I won't even say the inability, but I'll use that word, inability and or unwillingness
Refusal,
to,
yes.
yep, to see your team members for who they are in light of what they can contribute as opposed to who they are in light of their weaknesses or growth areas.
Yes.
When you choose to highlight one over the other, you're going to create an environment that either uh, fosters and helps to fuel the narcissistic behavior or one that helps to squash it.
Absolutely. And that's why, for me, in my experience, Oliver, creating a safe space where people can share what's on their hearts,
Hmm.
the good stuff, the
Yep.
great stuff, the
Yep.
phenomenal stuff, to include the things that they may be feeling indifferent about, the things that aren't that great, the
Hmm.
things that are bad, the things that just downright stinks. We need to be able to put it all on the table.
Yep. And you need to be able to put it on the table and feel comfortable doing so and
Yes,
know that you're not going to walk away being looked at differently, right? And
yes,
then couple that with encouraging very intentional peer support.
yes, yes. I would agree. Mentorship programs, buddy programs, or just I like the buddies.
Hmm.
Even if it's an executive team or
Yeah.
just a regular team,
Hmm.
having someone to bounce ideas off, just to make sure you get another perspective.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we don't have to do this alone, right? Whether the personal space, whether the professional space, we don't have to do it alone.
That's
You can
right.
have team building activities, you can have
Indeed.
team building workshops, you can bring in coaches and individuals that can help to to
Facilitate.
build that for you. Yeah, facilitate the building of that for you and to help even give support, periodic support around the maintenance of those kinds of environments because sometimes we don't know where to start. And
Yes.
that's okay. We don't know where to start, but having somebody come in and give us some guidelines,
Mhm.
facilitate the building process,
Yes.
give tips and tools for maintaining this environment and creating a culture. We talk a lot about culture in the corporate
Yes.
space, right? How do you create a culture? How do you build a culture? Because you can build it.
You can change it.
You can change it. You can
Yes.
build it. You can reconstruct it. You
Yes.
can develop it. You can revitalize it.
Yes.
Whatever word you want to use, it can
Yes.
happen. So you can bring in individuals. Listen, I'm not well versed in plumbing. So if something starts leaking in here, I could probably tinker around, but if it's too bad, I'm gonna have to bring somebody in to help me, and that's okay. That
Yes.
doesn't make me any less of a person.
That's right.
That means I actually am cognizant of the fact that there's a process,
Yes.
which probably makes me a smart guy. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Very smart.
And so it's the same way with your teams. You don't have to necessarily fight to do this on your own.
Right. That's right.
Bring individuals that can facilitate the building, the reconstruction process, give you tips and tools to maintain, set you up for success, create an environment that allows you now to lead by example, that allows you to have open and effective communication, that allows you to manage conflict in a way that is conducive to everybody's success. Because there is a way to do that. There's a way to manage conflict so that everybody comes out of the negotiation process set up to win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing I like about PI is that if there is conflict
Hmm.
between a specific group, whether it's one on one or a group of personalities,
Hmm.
you can put in the system, okay, there's team member A, B, and C, and they're at each other's throats.
Right.
We got to fix this. We
Hmm.
can put in their predictive index results, and then it'll spit out what's the best way for this party of three to work together.
Yeah.
This person is more of the details. So you cannot just come and just throw out an idea and think they're going to be cool with it. I just love how it breaks it down
Hmm.
so that there's a roadmap. You know, right now we have our GPS.
Hmm.
We don't leave without GPS. We don't use maps. But in the team environment, we don't necessarily have a GPS where we can put in our tablets.
Hmm.
But that's the closest thing that I've seen that I've used that I really like. That it can give you a map of how to navigate, especially with individuals that are having and experiencing conflict.
It's good stuff. And it listen, when it works well, like we've seen teams where when the synergy is there, when there has been
Mhm.
some level of intentionality around building culture
Yep.
that's conducive to that space,
Mhm.
man, when it works well, it works well because everybody
Safe.
feels they feel safe.
Yes.
They feel like their contribution is necessary and valuable.
It
They
matters.
know that whether their idea is the same or whether it is diverse, that will be accepted and will be there can be some dialogue around it. And everybody now, when you feel that way as
Oh,
an individual
yes.
contributor,
I love it.
the buy-in is a no-brainer.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. I mean, you would I think the saying is no one cares how much you know unless they know how much you care, right? So if you are intentional about creating a culture, um, and in my conversation with Dorothy, I talk about, and maybe that may be another article point, in allowing being a part of the total rewards process for you to decide, hey, I don't care how you work. I personally don't care how anybody works, whether
Mhm,
it's in the office, at home, hybrid, as long as the work gets done, right?
mhm.
So meeting that person where they are,
Yeah.
giving them everything that they need so that they can perform, be productive, and ultimately have the bottom line for the organization, have all of the hugs and kisses, in your
Mhm.
space when it comes to the personal relationships. It's just a win-win when you're able to create that psychological safety, those safe spaces, where the synergy, the gelling is just off the charts.
Yeah, and I believe that obviously the pandemic was a terrible experience, um, and I don't want to dismiss that by saying these words. So I don't want them to be triggering, but I think one good thing that came out of that
Mhm,
is that we are paying more attention now
mhm.
to the alignment between the health and well-being. I'm using that very holistically.
Yes.
Health and well-being of the individual contributor. We're
Yes.
paying more attention to the alignment between that and overall productivity.
Yes.
And now we're setting them up for success. So just like what you said,
Yes.
whether you're at home, whether you're hybrid, whether you're in the office, what we're actually aiming to do
Mhm.
is maximize your strengths
Yeah,
around where you are right now.
that's right.
Because if we maximize your strengths,
That's right.
you will feel confident. If you
Hmm.
feel confident, the work you provide is going to be exceptional.
That's
If the
right.
work you provide is exceptional, the company thrives. If the company
Yes.
thrives, there are rewards for the individual contributor. And we
Yes.
start the process all over again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, and that's what it's all about. There's no you hit on a word that I absolutely love and adore, and that is confidence.
Mhm.
It's not to be I bought this t-shirt from Milk and Honey, and the shirt said egotistical, narcissist, conceited, you know um, but at the end, those were the words, and then there
Mhm.
were lines through the words,
Mhm.
and the last word was confident.
Confident.
When you feel secure and safe and knowing what your competency is in a certain area, then
Mhm.
you can absolutely perform well. Things are just so much better, and not only for your work as an individual, but as a team. When
Right.
you feel confident in the team and your ability to share and work together, again, the results are just so rewarding.
Mhm.
You look forward to connecting with the team. You like them,
Yeah.
right? You want to continue to have those spaces because they're pleasant.
Indeed. And then
So
you reinforce that with great team building activities,
yes,
right? So there needs to be team building activities that speak to various aspects of the team dynamic. So you're
yes,
going to have a team building experience that speaks to the professional dynamic, a
yes.
team building experience that speaks to the personal and very experiential uh,
Mhm,
synergy type
mhm.
of component. And
Yes.
you want to make sure that you're doing those periodically because those are the things, those are the strings, if you will,
Mhm.
that piece together the pieces of the puzzle
Mhm.
in your confidence,
That's
right?
right.
Because let's face it, we're not always going to be running on 16 cylinders like you said,
Absolutely. I get
consistently
it.
24 hours a day,
Yeah.
365 days a year.
Yes.
But in those lulls,
Hmm.
we can't ignore, we can't just say those lulls are going to pick up by themselves.
Yes.
You intentionally plug in things
Yes.
that bridge the gap.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's where those team building activities come in.
Absolutely.
Or events or outings
Yes.
or
Yes.
retreats
Yes.
or
Yes.
dinners or whatever you want to plug into
Mhm.
that space.
Yes, I would say at least quarterly. You want to
Mhm.
connect if you are able to afford it monthly, ideally, just like I'm sure you would say to a couple date night once a week.
Mhm.
You do want to make sure as an organization, as a corporation, that at least once a quarter something's happening so that the team can, you know, I was speaking with the Well in Curtis Bay. I'm trying to volunteer there and be a mentor
Mhm.
in that community. And what I learned from my orientation is that the brain learns more and grabs more in a very short period of time when you're playing.
Mm. Mhm.
Because most trauma, and I'm sure you can say it because you deal with couples, most trauma that people still struggle with happen in childhood.
Mhm.
And sometimes, whether they have to be the parent or whatever the case may be, when their abuse started, they're not able to digest and keep what they learn because there's just so much stuff going on, and
Mhm.
they're not able to have that time to play because there's so much stuff going on. But based on the research, when you play, you're able to feel relaxed, it's calm,
That's right.
it's easy. So
Yeah.
whatever has happened, you're able to keep it because it's a safe space.
Mhm.
And so I would definitely encourage, whether it's I mean, we've done bowling in my time. I encourage. I did sip and paint.
Mhm.
We had smoothies. There are just so many creative things that you can
Yeah,
do, whether it's, and they have different spaces too that you can go out and just, it's like an adult arcade. There's so
yeah.
many things that are countless. There are no excuses why
Mhm.
you can't get together. And what do you say to those couples that make excuses that they can't get together for a date night?
I listen, the thing that I tell individuals often and couples often is that we prioritize the things that are important to us.
Ding, 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 ding,
So
ding. That
if I
is
were to
a
open my
drop the
phone,
mic
right,
moment.
if I were to open my phone right now and put it up to the camera and show you my calendar, you would see several things that are on that calendar. The reason why they're there is because they're prioritized. They're
Yeah,
prioritized because they're important. So
yeah.
if your relationship health is important to you, if the synergy of your team is important to you, there are things that you have to do
Yes.
in order to maintain that, right? And I would say this from an experiential perspective.
Mhm.
Often what happens is the experiences create a space where all of the other things that you're trying to achieve tend to organically
Will
begin to
happen.
happen.
Correct. Absolutely. The plan. The plan.
Yep.
And can you believe we are past 30 minutes?
Oh wow, that went by quick.
Yes, it's 2:47. We started
Yeah.
um less than more than 30 minutes ago. So I am going to thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to the next time because our
Indeed.
conversations are always amazing. And I'm
Indeed.
hoping again you can. I'm going to give you an opportunity of how people can connect and link up with you. Should they want to invite you in to help with their team dynamics and engagement?
Indeed. Listen, you can reach out to me if you are, depending on where you're watching this right now. If you search my name, Oliver Marcel, you can reach out to me that way. You can also email me. It's simply Oliver, my first name, Oliver, at Denali, DENOLI.org. Would love to sit down, have a conversation with you, and see how I can be of service to you in your endeavors.
I love it. And again, this is your friend Tish, Shauna Hodge, Tish here with the Shine Institute. And it is indeed my honor, my privilege to connect with you as well. Whether you need help, some people may not want to be awarded a great place to work, but they just want to take the needle from here to here, right? And take
Mhm.
baby steps. We can take baby steps together. You can go to shinewithtish.com, submit your name and a little message in terms of how to get in touch with me. I would love, love, love to connect with you. Thank you so much for our Oliver and Tish time. And then until next time, keep shining. See ya.